Well, hello and welcome to this little short episode. I'm not going to go into great details. I could go into explaining the risk and benefits of glyphosate, and we could talk about the recent information we've had about the MNRA virus inhibiting type of, because it's not really a vaccine. It's more kind of some sort of an inhibitor, and we have to look at the risk versus benefit. We could go into all of these kind of discussions and have a grand old time, but I don't think that helps. In this case, I want to deal with something because I run into it from time to time. People will say, well, I don't like my food all loaded up with chemicals, and neither would I unless they're healthy chemicals like vitamin C and all that kind of good jazz. So we need to think about what we put into stuff. But one of the chemicals that we come up with, potassium sorbate, is a mold inhibitor. And sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't use it. It depends on how long I intend on keeping something. And I've shown a couple shows this season already where you can see the oil. Where I handled my coppas, they were dry and clean. They had nothing growing on them at that point in time. But the oils, perhaps from the fingerprints, trapped some spores, and the spores started doing what spores do. They're going to create their life, reproduce just like everything else in God's creation. They're going to try to reproduce and do its own thing, right? But what happens? Why might I want to use it? Why might you want to use it? I'm not telling you to. There's a generally regarded as safe level that we use these chemicals, and just like anything else, just like glyphosate to keep your weeds down, there may be a tendency to overshoot the mark, to over chalk it, to over egg the pudding, as it will. Because if a little is good, a little bit more, it's got to be a little bit better, right? So we can do it. But they have their use, they have their purposes. And start with understanding what they're for and decide whether or not they're worth it. Because, some molds are toxic, like Stachybotrys chicharum. I put two syllables in there. I don't know if that's how you say it, but Stachybotrys, what most people call it, is a slimy, stinky black mold that smells to me like a meth head. It smells like a drug-addicted person whose body's failing and they're having that acid flow out through the skin in their bodies because the systems are shutting down. It's not quite a cat pee smell, but it's as close to it as you can get to. That's the way Stachybotrys smells. And so a little black stuff on your wall, we know if we get a little bit of education, we know that if it's dry and dusty, it's not a slime mold. So it's not going to be that toxic black. But doesn't mean I want to eat it, though. The blue cheese that the mold that goes into that is the same as the roqueforti, and it's easy to remember that half of the name because it's from Roquefort, France. It's the same one that's in Stilton cheese, and Stilton comes from England. So some of these are good, some of these are bad, and I could talk to you about the discovery of penicillium. And it was later made useful by somebody else, but the discovery was quite by accident by a Scotsman. I will do that some other time. So they're not all good, they're not all bad, and we don't know. So if you can't, it's like picking up a snake. Some people are like this. They believe if I can't tell if that's a poisonous snake or not a poisonous snake, they're all bad. And that can be the same thing with molds. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. Well, we're just going to roll this two little quick clips because this was an experiment. They were all natural, didn't have inhibitor on there, and let's see what happens to some lovely snack sticks that don't have the inhibitor on them. Alrighty, these were made back in November. I just opened a pack. We're going to discuss what potassium sorbate is and what it does. Day one, here I'm going to leave these out. These should naturally continue to get drier until they get like a piece of chalk. These will stay perfect. These may change to something we don't recognize. If you like this content, please go to calldeltosell.com, find the tab that says on YouTube, click it, and it'll open up a page of QR codes. There you can use a smartphone to scan and get to the YouTube page, or you can just mouse over and click it on a PC. There you'll be able to subscribe to this little button over here and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you. Thank you.
Well, it's been 1 week and a day later, and let's take our inspection. Ooh, still look like they're fine. That's the ones that have been deprived of oxygen. These ones have dried out hard as a rock, but you see, they didn't mold. That's like beef jerky right there. Now let's check the other one. Oh, look at that. We got a green mold there. I don't know if that's blue-green or green, you can tell. But look at the way this blossomed right there. See how it looks like almost like a dandelion. Now, yesterday, Sunday, possibly the day before, because I had a door I had to fix, I checked and it was just a tiny hint of mold. Now what this is this does have oxygen in this bag, obviously, and I did wave it around to see if I could catch me some air, open up the bag and waved it around. But you see, what can we determine from this? Well, first of all, that most molds are aerobic. Like if you're familiar with Penicillium roqueforti, I hope I said that correctly, out of Roquefort, France. It's also the same that they use in Stilton cheese. Yeah, those are aerobics, and they have to have a little bit of oxygen for them to grow. Now, a facultative aerobic would not necessarily have to have that, or it could work without as much or something like that.
Well, that's it. I think I'm going to not say too much, not talk past to sell. We appreciate you watching. Hit the notifications bell. Sign up for as members of the channel. There's no cost to you. I don't do anything with that, but hit that notification bell. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. Yeah, I like the middle where most people are much more than I do the fringes. I don't think the purely all natural is as healthy, and I'm not really sure that overloaded with stuff is as healthy as it could. I think we ought to go as fresh and close to the harvest as possible with what we have. But you know, a lot of the meat preservation was done because in primitive times we didn't have refrigerators, and we didn't have, so that things didn't keep well in the heat, and we didn't have things keeping them to last us all through the winter. So it is what it is. Tell me what you think of my little presentation, and we'll see you on the next episode.